Yes, that's right.
And I saw you.
Yeah, if I could call the meeting to order. Thank you all for coming, and not to forget, Merry Christmas to everybody. It's around the corner for those of us who haven't finished our shopping. Haven't begun it yet.
That's right.
So we don't miss doing it. We've all received the minutes of the last 2 minutes that Heather provided, and I was remiss at the last meeting from reviewing them and approving them. I guess I'm hoping everybody's had a chance to look through them, and if there's no questions, I'd entertain a motion to accept them as presented.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, second.
Okay.
I would like a copy if it's possible.
Yeah.
I got it.
I need extra slides.
Me too.
Okay, so if there's no questions, all those in favor of approving the minutes of the last 2 meetings, being November 21st and December 5th, 2017. December 5th, 2017, can you say aye?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, thank you. And Heather, obviously, thank you very much.
Did they get copies? Do you guys have copies?
No, not yet.
December 5th?
Other than what they may have received on the, via email.
No, they get off camera.
Well, George, I figured you had already reviewed them on your
Makes
email.
no mistakes, you know that,
Never.
ever.
Okay, and Karen, thank you very much for the offer. I'll take you up on it. You're now competing with the Postal Service. Alrighty. Before Joe starts, Andrew, maybe you just want to tell us what we expect to look at tonight, if you want to just briefly.
Yes, so tonight we're going to have the Public Works Department budget, as well as some of the town's warrant articles. These warrant articles haven't been reviewed by the selectmen or approved by the selectmen yet, but we wanted to get them out there for you guys to take a look at, and then also just look for any guidance that you may have. So I was just saying, we have the Public Works budget tonight, and then we also have some warrant articles, some town warrant articles to present.
I'm sorry, I'm the old person here to speak up.
Okay, yeah. Oh, again? Yeah.
You have to say you're not the old person, but I will speak
Yeah,
up.
you're not the old person.
I'm the old person.
Yeah, I'm sure there's somebody older in the room.
Me?
Thank you.
Yeah, good, so Public Works and warrant articles. Yeah.
Okay, all
Sewer.
right.
And sewer, that's right.
And Brian, you were here to support? Warrant articles, okay, very good. And Selectman Brath and
Yeah, we're good.
Sweet.
Chairman Sweet.
over there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Chief Smith.
And Chief Smith, Paul. Alrighty, anyway, okay, well, lead off, and I thank you much.
Karen, you waste my paper.
You knew when, George?
I am supporting the lumbermen
You
in the
certainly
North
are.
Country.
You certainly
This
are.
is for Rudy and the chief and Skylar. I have copies for you if you'd like one. And I'll leave one for you.
Does this go with the last page?
Yeah, probably,
So is-
probably make it your
Are
first
these,
thing. Okay, just
is
say
every
it.
department updated in
Every
this
department
version?
is in here
Okay.
from what you've met with. And the highway department hasn't changed since I gave you the handouts last week, but it's in here. So we can go to those pages. We don't need to pull anything else out. Just go to those pages.
This is the total thing.
So the pages you want to go to are, the first one is page 27 of 48.
46. Did you say 46? Yeah.
27, page 27 of 46.
6.
I have to look under my glasses.
I thought it said 48.
I have trifocals, but I can
You
sometimes
need, you
see.
need quadruples. Yeah.
So this is the Public Works Administration budget, and we're here to talk about the proposed 2018 budget. The first thing in this budget that's added, that's different from the default and different from 2017, is we have a part-time admin assistant helping out in the Public Works Department for 15 hours a week for 9 months of the year, and will be not full-time, but will be 12 months of the year in next year's budget, if this is passed. The amount of that is $8,775. The only benefits this person would have is Social Security and Medicare. There would be no other benefits. Many hours are spent trying to do paperwork, approving invoices, processing what we call check requests in order to get a check paid to a vendor. Putting in payroll information for different jobs, assisting with getting information together for grants, following, ordering equipment, parts and repairs. So this is something that's been looked at as a possibility, and it's put into the proposed budget to assist Joe DePalma and his department.
Aaron, what does this work out to hourly? What is the?
It's between 12 and 15, but we're thinking 15. We really need someone with some computer skills,
Okay.
not just someone to answer the phones. We need somebody that can do some computer work. Excuse me.
Andrew, is that your pocket money?
No. Okay. I could just elaborate on that a little bit. Joe has some excellent skills that he brings to the table, and he's been able to save the town money, and also bring a lot of innovation to a lot of the projects that we do that ultimately create much better infrastructure, and being able to focus and utilize him more on that.
On the final product.
Yeah, instead of getting him stuck in the office, trying to file technical FEMA paperwork, or doing some of the other paperwork that Karen talked about. This will really help us utilize him more effectively. So,
And whether this would be somebody some hours every day, or a person 2 days a week, or a person mornings, or
We would like a presence daily for, spaced out over the course of the week, but we'd have to see what would work out. The right candidate might have a different schedule that would make us lean one way or the other. With the decision, I'd love to see a presence in the office 3 to 5 hours a day, someone that would be there, not to answer the phone, as Karen and Andrew alluded to, but to do these other things, but still have somebody there. Right now, I locked the door. I bought a sign that says,
after
gone,
lunch, I saw it.
gone until 2 o'clock, so we can, I can't leave the shop
No.
unlocked and unoccupied when we go out. And it's okay if it's unoccupied. There's phone numbers to get us. But there's a lot of paperwork that the FEMA especially is generating, and the multiple projects we have going on. This would really help out the town a lot, I think.
So the difference between the 2018 proposed and last year's approval is $1,986. It's a 2.17% increase. We have changed the reimbursement also from the sewer funds from 5% to 15% of your time, of Joe's time, and that's noted throughout the different wages.
So that's on line 1 where that's referenced?
Yes, and it goes down through with any personnel, wage-related benefits. You flip the page, and we're on to the Public Works Department, was formerly called the Highway Department. We feel that the professionalism there and the professional look of that building, it is a Public Works Department. They handle more than just highway. The difference between the 2018 proposed and the default for wage-related items, there is no difference, because this is a CBA department where all of the employees, except for the temporary positions, are under the union contract. So the wages in the default and the proposed would be exactly the same. Goes along with all the benefits down through.
Yeah, and Karen, here where it says sewer reimbursement 5%, does that stay in the 5?
That's staying at 5. We can bill out their hours beyond that into the sewer department. So if they're called out for emergencies or called out, we do bill out for them. So if you continue on to page 29, you'll see the rates for New Hampshire retirement system. The default and the proposed are exactly the same. The one area that increases on this page is the uniforms. We've added $2,000 in here because we really should be getting some safety winter wear. The high visible jackets, hats, pants, and boots for the gentlemen that are out on the road. I don't know if you've noticed occasionally in the paper, you'll see where a worker's been hit by a vehicle, and some of that's because they're not being seen. So we want to get something that is reflective and bright, so we can see where the people are.
I just want to make just a reference. So back on, well, I'm using my last handout because I have notes on it.
Yeah.
But for your health insurance, it went down approximately $4,000 just because of the decrease.
We have two things factored in there. One is we received 11% decrease.
Right.
We have some changes in staff, so we have some changes in plan. And also the union contract jumped the amount that we agree, the amount that the employees pay is 2% more than what it was last year.
So
in the insurance.
I just wanted to make a note, though, that even though the health insurance went down considerably, the retirement system, so we're going to have Brad Bailey here on Thursday, and we need to kind of talk to him about the New Hampshire retirement system. So,
Okay.
because that went up by 15,000 in this department only.
Went up by 5.
5,000.
Oh, 5,000, excuse
Yeah,
me.
5,000.
And Karen, we're still, I know they're doing that in 2 years. So where are we on those 2-year cycles now?
I know there's an increase coming July 1st, and I know I've handed out
Yeah.
what that increase
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
The increase in the highway department, I don't believe it's more than 0.5%.
Okay, so the 2 years fix that we're in is ending June 30th of next year.
Yes.
And then the next 2-year fix, if you would be starting July 1st till
Yes.
June 30th,
And it's
2020.
just under 12% that they're considered group 1, which is the office staff, the public works, the transfer station, are just under 12% that the town pays. The employee pays 7%.
Okay, so
Into
this
their
department
retirement.
pays just under 12%.
Yeah, and I know I've given those factor sheets
Oh, yeah,
out.
no,
Yeah.
you've given them to us many times over the years too, and we do appreciate that. It's
Yeah.
nice to,
I don't remember every little
no,
thing.
no, but it's nice to be aware that it's there, and obviously the fact that it is gonna change every 2 years.
They're looking at the rates again. I believe the 2019, they'll be looked at again.
Yeah,
And some changes are coming down. If they go through, they're gonna change how long a full-time employee, when they retire, have to be out of work before they can come back and work part-time. They're also looking at lowering the number of hours that that person can work part-time for any town, school, or state that offers the New Hampshire retirement system. So they're changing some of the rules on that. And those rules, if they get voted in, will be changing in 2019.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I want you to ask questions. That's why we're here. You flip to the next page, which is 30. The data processing stays the same as it is in the budget. We have increased the professional services and the roadside mowing. There is an increase there. a substantial one. One reason is to try to get the trees cut back that are on the sides of the roads and get more roadside mowing done. It's hard to keep up with all of that. And if you want further information, Joe's the best one to ask.
Where are you talking about as far as cutting roadside trees and cutting, you talking about town? You're talking about town roads, right?
Yes.
So where is there an issue with that?
There are issues all over town. The brush and the roadside growth and vegetation is creeping in on the roads. I refer to it as Jim, defendable space around the roads. We've lost that over the years, possibly attributed to losing 30% of the guys. So what are you gonna not do? Well, you're still gonna plow. You're still gonna fix the roads as best you can. But the mowing, the brush cutting, and the tree work has been played second fiddle the last few years. It's becoming more and more problematic. Trees are coming down on the roads pretty regularly, on the back roads. Not really the main roads so much, but the back roads. And the mower we have it's almost like a sickle bar mower for the old time. You can only mow 2 or 3 feet. So Andrew allowed me to use rent a big mower last year for 1 month, last fall. It has an 18-foot boom. The state uses them a lot on the sides of the highway. It can reach way out and cut up to 4-inch diameter brush and vegetation.
4 inch?
Excuse me?
Up to 4 inch?
4 inch, yeah. We ran
Tall,
it right
George, 4 inches tall.
Yeah.
No.
It was about 5,000 for the month, I think, and we put it right on Broomstick Hill Road and ran it right up and down the 2 sides of that road right away because we get called out so much there with stuff, and it's such a long road for stuff to grow in on. And some people weren't too impressed when they saw it. We cut a lot of brush from the side of the road that is right near front yards, but it has to happen. We need to get more of this done. We had 2 seasonal workers this summer that cut the guardrails with weed whackers and things like that. And we're staying with it, but I'd like to see a little more done as far as these hazard trees and the brush that's growing in.
You use outside service to cut trees, though, right? Some of the trees.
We would want this professional services item to be used for trees that are hazard trees that are too tangled in wires that the power company won't take necessarily, meaning just because they cut the tree that's in the wire. The tree's across the street out of their right of way, but it's leaning towards their wires. Now it's our tree to cut, but it's still we're not a tree company. We don't have a bucket truck, an aerial lift for the men to get up there and do. We do have good chainsaws. We do have, every one of my men has been trained properly in how to use a chainsaw. They're all good with it. We have chippers, we have dump trucks, we have tractors, we have what we need, but we just can't do some of the technical tree work.
Joe, that was my question. How does this overlap with Littleton Water and Light? In other words, if there's a power outage or something?
So when there's a power outage and it's in the wires, we have protocol we follow. We don't touch the tree until Water and Light gets there, and
I think she's talking about what happens pre-wise. I mean, we've had a lot of brush work done, Slate Ledge and up
yes,
there.
yeah,
And that was all paid for by Water and Light.
that's right. So we would stay out of the right of ways of the power companies. If I know New Hampshire, like I'm thinking of the summer roads out in my neck of the woods near Partridge Lake. If New Hampshire Electric Co-op is coming to cut their lines free every 3 years, and we're not going to go cut those. We're staying away from the right of ways, the power company easements and right of ways. We're working on our roads. My first day here, a tree fell down in free parking and went through somebody's roof, and we paid good money. It was like my first or second day here, right here in free parking.
Thank you, Andrew.
And Chiefs. I'm like, really? It's a dead tree and it's a no man's land. Is it ours? It was on private property, but it's leaning over our parking lot, and we deal with this all the time. So I know some of the questions might be, are we going on private property to do tree work? And the answer is sometimes it might be yes, because the tree is hanging over we own the airspace all the way up. If the tree's here and it's leaning this way, we try to work with the residents to try to get permission or get them to do some cutting on their own. But in the end, if there's a liability and a safety issue, we have to react and respond accordingly, and this would help me with that a little bit more.
I've got one across the road from me, it's split all the way to the bottom.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to put a chainsaw to it.
Is that the one that has like somebody built like a ladder up it to get?
No.
I know what you're talking about.
And it's pretty close to power lines too, I talked about water line, nobody wants to touch it, cause
Yeah.
you put a chainsaw to it, they'll just.
Yeah.
So this is definitely something that's gonna be consistent in the budget from now on if it gets passed this year?
Yeah.
Or is this a one-time?
Will the stay up on the roadside mowing, is it required?
I would like to see how we do with this, how much we can get done. Just once we get the trees cut back, and we could actually get to a point where it's mowable again, defendable space, like the Mount Eustis Road project we just completed. We have extensive looming and seeding on the edges, and it's flat enough to get a tractor on there to mow, because you don't have college kids and high school kids or part-time seasonal help that want to weed whack a half a mile a day of roadside mowing. That just doesn't happen anymore. We try, but we don't. And so any defendable space we can get around the roads is what we're trying to achieve. If I can achieve that through some professional services to help us with some trees, and then just be able to mow every year or two, that'll be great.
To be determined.
Yeah, Lisbon, just to talk about some areas. Lisbon does it every couple of years. They rent the same machine we rented and use it on their roadsides. Lyman, same thing. There's so many miles. There's 130 lane miles of road. So this is be a huge savings. We could look at also eventually purchasing the right piece of equipment and not have this in our budget like this. We used to have a tractor that had a wing on it that could mow, and it was sold a couple of years ago. So we lost that.
So, Joe, this $5,000 you're talking about, you rented that for a month last summer. That's part of this increase here.
That was an example. It was an example of it.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing.
Yes.
Plus also if you have to bring in a tree service.
Exactly.
And it's like, it seems every time you turn around, it's $1,000 to cut,
Yes.
minimally to cut any
Yeah.
tree.
Yeah.
We used a tree service only once this year. We had trees and the power lines and communication lines to the sewer treatment plant were tangled up in trees to the point where we couldn't get them with our equipment, and it's about $1,500 a day for a tree crew with the chipper and the bucket truck and 2 or 3 guys with the right insurance for the town to hire. So we only used a tree service one day this year. Yeah, last year we used them, like I said, again, free parking, a tree fell down. Here and there, it's been very sporadic here and there. Try to keep it to a minimum.
Continuing on, we have an increase in the water. Looking over what we had expended to date, we felt there needed to be a slight increase in the water usage. And then further down, we have an increase in the general supplies shop and garage, and that's spread throughout the different items as costs continue to rise. And looking at where we were currently on that line. We have the one-time expense for the betterment,
No, that's what I was gonna ask you.
that is out of the default and the proposed. And it is not planned to put back in unless something else comes up on something like that. There is an increase in general supplies drainage. As we've used and improved different roads, we need to resupply our drainage supplies, and those costs continue to rise slightly. There is next increase is on office supplies. It's a very minimal amount, and that's for copier maintenance, printer, ink, cartridges, paper, files, etc. There's no increase in the gas and oil. There's no change in salt, but in sand and gravel, we have increased that by $20,000. We need to refresh our supply of salt, of sand and gravel. Under pavement, maintenance, and roads, we've increased that by $10,000, and that's $10,000 added for professional line striping. Under signs and post, there's an increase there of $500. Under Vehicle maintenance is a slight increase, and there's a couple lines that increase is pertaining to. The next increase is under rentals and leases, and this is where we have increased the amount to $6,000 for the cost of rentals and when equipment is broken or broken down. So the total increases in the 2018 proposed versus the 2017 approved is $45,163. That's a 4.26% increase.
Okay. So actually, we've increased a lot in this whole department just because we took the 53,000 out, and so it's really 45,000 plus the 53,000 that we've increased this. So can you go and explain a little bit about the sand? And you said you have to refresh it. We normally have 30,000. I don't understand. $30,000 in the budget for that, and we're increasing it by 20,000. I kind of repeat for Channel 2. So it's 50,000. So why the additional 20,000 in that line item?
A lot of it is the weather. We've used so much sand the last couple of weeks. Yesterday we had 4 or 5 inches of snow over the course of 16 hours. The amount of sand we're using, we don't get 12 inches of snow or 6 inches of snow and then a plow and sand. It's a 2 or 3 inch storm that goes for 2 days, and we use tons and tons of salt and tons of sand. The sand use has gone up considerably with the change in the weather patterns. I think we all have to agree. We had a lot of ice. We have a lot of different weather than we've had the last few years. So the sand number needs to come up. The salt a little bit, but it's mostly for the sand. And then the cost of the sand to truck it, to purchase sand and then truck it to our yard has gone up.
If you look at what we've spent year to date,
Yeah.
well, this was as of the 1st of December, $41,839 is what's been expended.
So we were
So-
underfunded
Yes.
last year anyways, in this part of this year. Yeah,
And
well,
you
this
can't predict the weather.
year. Okay.
I can try. They do it on television every night.
I can, it's getting worse.
Yeah.
Too cold.
Be a lot more.
Joe, how does that was something that George left you with, at least initiated and left you with, but as far as our ability to store sand and store salt
Yes.
is much improved?
Yeah, I can pick through my papers to find that, the numbers, but, salt, it didn't really impact the sand storage, but the salt, we can now buy, we were kinda locked into with suppliers. We have a small storage shed before, prior to what George did. And so you really didn't wanna, go too far out of our area, and find the cheapest price, because the cheapest price is in Portsmouth. They call it sea salt. It comes in on barges and on the ocean, and it's trucked up north. And those trucks don't want to come through the notch in bad weather. So you're really at the mercy of the local guys. They can send that are already in Montpelier or Burlington or in there used to be a yard in Stark where they're not dealing with the notch and the long ride up here. So we were locked into a small supply circle, and that bigger storage area has given us a bigger area, a bigger circle to purchase salt from. So Andrew has given me 2 contracts. We have a local guy that, when in a pinch, we have a week of prolonged ice, and the trucks don't want to come up from down south to deliver to us till the weather changes. We have the local guy. We have some dry weather, and we want to replenish our load at a cheaper rate. We can call the guys down south. They'll be happy to come right up. So we have 2 contracts, a local one and an out-of-town one. We use the out-of-town one as much as we can. They're a little cheaper, but we have to keep that local connection. But it's so I guess, sorry, I went around a circle.
No,
it's saving money. It's
And
saving us money.
And the price differential, Joe?
It's substantial. It's like $5 a ton, but we go through 100 tons in some days. So it's like it's about $5 a ton. And I've called, tried to get the local guy to come down. I've tried to do some haggling, things like that, and that's the price. And the guy down south's considerably cheaper, and so yeah, we save.
As of December 1st, we had expended $113,000, and I'm not sure whether we've got another load in or not since
December
then.
1st?
As of
Oh,
December
yes,
1st.
we had another 100 ton last week.
So
And
that
then we
isn't
have another
reflected in the price.
And 100-ton coming on order for hopefully this week.
Joe, if cash flow allows in April or May, and I'm in Portsmouth a lot, but I can't bring the salt out.
Yeah.
But you do see the
Trunk
big
load.
trucks going in there
Yeah.
and buying it for next year.
Yeah.
Will they get a deal? I mean, is it?
Yeah, actually, I think there is a slight price, the savings doing that, and I say I think because I don't know for sure. The reason why I don't know for sure is that I wanted the salt bin emptied, and I wanted it pressure washed, I wanted the
Okay.
concrete treated, because the concrete side's treated, on multiple occasions to stop the salt from eating out of that concrete foundation that George and the guys built.
Okay,
I wanted it empty and clean, and then once it was emptied and clean, the plan was to utilize that dry area for other repairs. George envisioned it being like a paint shop out there, or a body shop, or a sandblasting area. We wouldn't want to sandblast in the shed, to the point where he took it as far as to run conduit out there for air tools to blast bodies with sand. We haven't sandblasted any trucks in there, but I cleaned it last fall when I got here, and I cleaned it again this year. It perfectly hosed. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
So,
That's a good point.
yeah.
I don't think, I remember George actually mentioned that, but that's a good idea. That type of facility in certain times of year
Yeah.
could be very beneficial.
Yeah.
But still, we're looking at almost $100,000 swing here with that 53 and 45. And I don't remember what the betterment was, I'm sorry.
That was 53,000.
53.
What is it? What is it?
It was, it
53,000?
it totaled $53,500.
But what was that?
That was for a road,
Ledgeway Road, which is a private road. There's a state law that allows a private road to petition for the town
Oh,
to.
to become a
Yeah.
town
And
road?
it is
Yeah.
attached.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
and so any improvements that are done to the road will be paid for by them. So while we had to raise that, we will be getting that back from the property owners over a period of
Over a
time.
period of time, okay, thank you.
It's like a surcharge on their taxes.
Yeah.
Okay, Rudy?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, in regard to cut the trees up and brush and stuff like, do this applies it to all the taxpayers in town?
Oh, shoot.
Let me hear it from the chairman.
I mean, does it apply to all the
Applies to all the
payers
taxpayers
in town?
in town.
Yes, I would say everybody pays for that, yes. There isn't a different tax base on which it's
No,
assessed.
no, I'm saying,
It's
the
a tax.
job that Joe applies for, for, what is gonna be a warrant articles or
No.
just, it's gonna be a warrant
I
article?
mean, for this roadside trimming?
Yeah, no, the one where he was talking about before, to clean up the trees and the brush.
No, that is in the budget.
Part of this.
That is in the budget already. And this applies it to all the taxpayers, you say, right? How about people like me or like anybody else that lives in a state road? Does this apply to the town road too?
No, I would say no.
No.
I would say no, the state, because the state maintains their roads.
Yeah, but it applies to him as a taxpayer. You're
It
sure
applies to
paying-
you as
you're
a
paying
taxpayer.
for it.
Yeah, when I go cut trees on the side of the state road, I would talk to Mr. McMahon and his crew with the state before we do that. We actually have a tree right now, maybe I'll talk to Jim after the meeting, that's blocking our vision on a state road, or it's in a town area. Yeah, we'd like to work together with them, but we want the state to pay. Jim should block his ears right now. We want the state to pay for as much as they can, they will, and we'll pick up the slack. But no, we need to cut the trees on the town roads, and if you're on a state road, the levels of responsibility are different, Rudy. You're right. We wouldn't always
I
do
would like to
work
know,
out there.
probably, I can relate it to my neighbors and stuff like that,
Yeah, but really, I think your question though, as far as paying for it though, that is a tax base
I gotta pay
wide.
for it?
Yes.
yes,
I pay my tax, no?
Yeah, it's
part of your taxes.
It's in your taxes.
But Rudy is also getting trees that could be hazardous in other areas of the town that you travel. So when you're on a town road, he's making sure it's safe, so there aren't any trees falling.
No, it's important that applies it to all the taxpayers, so that's my main concern.
Now, the last part of the budget that we have to look at, is the sewer users budget, which starts on page 45 of 46, so it's your last page, last two pages. We're looking again at the 2018 proposed. And as different lines have increased throughout the budget, they've also, anything that has a percentage that goes out to the sewer budget goes to the sewer users budget, in which the sewer users need to pay for. So there is some adjustments down through here under the wages and wage-related benefits. There's a contractual increase which is included in the default budget for the plant operation. The other increases are throughout the budget, usually cover the default as well as the proposed. One difference is the printing of the sewer bills. It is costing a little bit more to have those printed every year. And this only reflects a half-year printing. We haven't got the bill for the second half of the year. So we know it's gonna run about $1,000 a year. Continuing on to the,
What does it mean, adjusted to reflect budget?
that means that when 5% of the town manager's wages or 10% of my wages are pulled out of our departments because we're doing sewer work, the sewer users are paying for that time. So not all the taxpayers have to pay for that portion of time.
It's in your sewer bill?
It's in your sewer bill.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What percentage, and I'm on it, so, and I don't wanna see it go up, but what percentage are in septic disposals for only $25,000 versus a sewer user's fee? And how much of out-of-towners use that septic disposal system, not
Well,
just us?
The septic disposal system is part of the revenues, so this top
I
portion.
understand that, but is that, it doesn't, and as I said, I'm under it, I don't wanna see it go up, but it doesn't look, and particularly with them using out of towns, it doesn't look like it's nearly enough compared to, the sewer users fees.
Well, as of December 1st, we've collected 110,000.
Yeah, so,
Oh, wait a minute,
Yeah.
oh,
the
So
rev, yeah, the rev-
100,000, we had budgeted 100,000, that used to be
oh, that's,
25,000.
oh, so
Yeah.
the penalty and interest,
Yeah.
that's sewer users penalty, I'm talking about the septic disposal,
That's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
that-
the
yeah,
septic,
110,902.
that's only 25.
no,
used to
that's
be.
Oh, I'm
the,
okay, pardon me all the heck, I'm sorry,
yeah,
I'm
the
sorry.
information
that's
fee. Yep.
okay.
I was reading, the
It's
line-
hard to read these
the lines
lines.
didn't line up for me,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yep, and that's been consistently increasing, and we've installed that septic receiving station,
Yeah.
I think it was last year, and now we're getting true,
Well, you're getting it from a lot of other towns, right?
We do,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And they pay a higher rate.
Oh, they do, good.
Yep.
Oh, that's interesting.
We give you a discount, George,
I certainly hope so. Okay, I'm happy now.
as a resident.
It's called George's discount. Put it in the books, George.
We're looking at seeing, possibly increasing the out-of-town rates.
That's right, yeah, we're analyzing all
Yeah,
that.
I'm cognizant of,
Oh, yeah,
of your
okay,
issue.
I was, Joe, the only reason I questioned, I was looking the wrong line, I was matching different lines up.
Oh.
Yeah, we have a lot happening there too. We're doing like an asset management study at the facility to take a look at the lifespan of all the equipment. For example, the centrifuge that we have is $500,000 if that thing goes. We had an issue with it this year. I think it turned out it's a couple of bearings. But in order for us to work on that, we have to take the whole centrifuge down and then potentially bring in a outside company to separate our water. It's a big operation, and we've got a lot going on there to improve the facility and also try to increase our capacity for growth. So,
So those of us who live in a rural area and we have our septic tanks pumped, and we get a fee from Schofield or whomever,
Sure.
part of his cost is obviously
Goes to
to pay to get
that's
rid
right.
of this at the town,
Yep.
town of Littleton.
Yep.
So you're really, I mean, his prices are gonna reflect
Sure.
these
The,
prices.
the end user pays, definitely,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
always,
Yeah.
always,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
When we first moved to Fire Hill, the town paid for it.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, there used to actually there was a.
They used to put in the septic tank and they maintained it, that was for a few
Through
years.
the town?
Yeah.
I think there was actually a state law back then.
was
Able
it?
to-
It was the grand bargain. It had to do, when you talk about like Rudy was asking about who pays for, like, do we still have something on sidewalks? Do some people get?
No, there used to
We
be
used
a
to be.
sidewalk.
Okay,
district
but
too,
at
yeah.
one time in Littleton, and I had a septic system installed by the town. But
When? How long ago was that?
Yesterday.
that
I
was
did it for 'em.
1978. 1978.
69, they
Yeah,
put it.
but the deal, it had to do with when Moore Dam was built, and they had different precincts, like Apthorpe was a precinct. Apthorpe had its own highway, you know, I live right next to the Apthorpe Highway Garage,
Yeah,
right?
I did hear all
Yeah,
this.
yeah, so, my understanding is that
You're gonna give me
when Moore
ideas,
Dam,
Steve. We're
no,
gonna
no,
have a
when,
garage next year on the other side of town.
when Moore Dam was built, as the structure was at that time, the revenue from that would have gone to people outside the precinct. Well, that obviously didn't bode well, so there was a bargain made, if you would, that all the revenue would go into one pool, if you would, but that in return for that the town would construct and maintain septic systems outside the precinct.
The discussion came up recently with Partridge Lake, so the history of this. It's very interesting.
To the centrifuge that you mentioned at the treatment plant, maybe Karen, you can explain, this major component at the treatment plant just recently failed, and it's a $500,000 price tag to repair it. And the cost, excuse me?
To replace.
To replace, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, to replace it's $500,000. And the contractor that, Utility Partners is our contractor that manages the plant for us. And Utility Partners, with their mechanically savvy guys, and Karen with our budget, somehow we got that. Can you explain that, maybe, how we got that fixed?
Well, there was
$500,000 went away.
The $500,000 part, when the centrifuge was put in, the town had funds enough in the sewer user funds to cover that cost, so it didn't have to go out for a loan or a bond. So that 9% that the sewer users put in for replacement, that kind of saves up for those type of things. It saves up for the repairs or maintenance or improvements as we rebuild roads. And we recycle those or reuse those funds continuously, so we don't need to keep increasing cost on the sewer users, and that helps cover a lot of those repairs. So using the sewer user fund helped cover the cost of the repairs that were unexpected to that centrifuge. So if we didn't have enough in our budget, and we did have enough for some repairs, those funds can be used for that. Whatever's left that we don't expend through the year of the budget falls back into that fund. So it continues being used up and down. The selectmen have the authority to use those funds toward those type of improvements and repairs.
Great.
And I think that 9% figure is actually required by law, I believe, because I think it has to do with, as part of the funding we've gotten from the government to build that system, that they want to see us doing exactly what Karen says. They don't want the system that they've helped us to build. They don't want it to fail and then us have no ability to repair it. So at 9%,
So
and
it's
that.
working properly now?
Yes.
With no added tax burden.
I'd like to go back to my question about the adjusted to reflect budget. Permanent positions, up till now, we've been looking at the budget, and the permanent positions have been going up 3%. This is significant, this is a $19,000 increase in permanent positions. That's not 3%.
Can I explain a little bit? You go back to page 5 of your budget. Okay?
Yeah,
Under line 1,
Yeah.
you have permanent salaries. On the very end of that little section, it says reimbursement from sewer funds, 10% to 20%. So we've increased the amount of the town manager's time. He's spending at least 20% of his time dealing with sewer projects, sewer expenditures, sewer, anything to do with the sewer. So as his piece bumps up, so here it went from.
$11,000.
Right, that has to come from the sewer fund. So that increases the amount. Are you following
Under
what?
the permanent salary line. I
Right.
see what you're talking about.
Okay, so as his amount that's in executive offices changes, that is sewer related, it's gonna change that. And again, that happens throughout the budget. That happens under finance, that happens under tax collecting. She's doing the tax collector is doing the collections for the sewer funds. She's doing the billing for it. So there's a portion of different full-time employees' pay and benefits that comes from the sewer fund.
The sewer fund must be revenue neutral. Okay,
Yes.
it must be.
Yes. Now, on page 46,
So the difference is
Oh.
just that you're spending more time on it than previous years.
actually, it seems to be increasing every year,
Yeah,
that
I-
there's more involvement in it.
Yeah,
Either we're spending more time on it, or we were under allocating previously.
yeah, both of that, I
Yeah,
would say.
I think that's probably more.
So the system itself is in good shape, the wastewater treatment plant. I know we're talking about some sewer projects
Yeah.
last year.
Right, so already,
and
yeah,
trying to fix some of the sewer collection system.
that's right.
So that's still on schedule.
Yeah, so,
So-
yeah, it's all aging, and
Yeah.
one of the things that we're working on this year is, we're doing a, asset management lifespan analysis of all the equipment and operations at the, treatment facility.
Okay.
In addition to how we're doing, like the subsection collection system work.
Sure.
And, we'll be able to give you more of an idea of the clean bill of health, or, what needs to be done or planned for at the treatment plant.
So at the end of it, you'll say there's 20% of the system that is in greater than 50 years old. There's 20% of the system that's in 20,
Yep.
10 years old, so on and so forth.
That's right, and then things like, for example, maintenance to the centrifuge, or other items in the laboratory, or any pump stations, those sort of things, we'll have them on like a CIP, and be able to plan for some of the larger expenses that come up. In doing that also, that helps qualify us for the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund, or USDA, and in fact, the study itself will likely be reimbursed for the cost of it through one of those programs. Because like Steve was saying, you get these monies from these agencies, and then they don't want to see you let the investment go. Yeah,
Thank you.
So on page 46, which is the final part of the sewer operations budget, the default and the proposed are the same down through here, and you notice in the default and proposed, we've included some debt service payments, which include principal and interest. There's 1/3 loan for the River District, $900,000 loan. That starts being paid in 2018. We have interest only on the sub-area 5 loan, and that starts in 2018. So those have been included into the budget. There's a $60,756 difference, which is a 7.5% increase. That is part of this budget. A majority of that has to do with those wage adjustments and the debt service.
Now, will that automatically translate to a 7.51 increase in the sewer users rate,
Yes,
or close to it?
or close to it.
yeah, depending on what revenues look like,
Seriously.
all that.
Seriously,
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
one,
not only did we get hit with a budget increase, but we're gonna get hit with a sewer increase.
yeah, well, yeah, and obviously, Ralph, the budget increase would be higher if we weren't moving this stuff over, and at least the thought process is, it is supposed to be a user-supported system, and so we're just trying to be more accurate in terms of what we're allocating cost to the
I
sewer system.
understand
Yeah,
it, but either way, the taxpayers are still getting hit twice.
right, unless you're flushing your toilet outside the area. Yes, Ralph, you are.
So,
By 7.51%, that's a significant increase for 1 year.
Yeah.
See, the last one.
so back to page 3, the summary of the budget. You can see we've opened up all of the lines, so you can see all of the lines of what was approved, the year-to-date or year-to-date to December 1st, the default, the proposed, the difference between 2018 proposed and 17 approved, and the percentages of increase. You flip over to the next page, you've got the rest of that picture. And you look at line 34, and I have a column F. You look down to total budget. The difference between the 2018 proposed and 2017 approved, and that's prior to the warrant articles that affected the budget, it's $422,696. It's a 4.77% increase. If you look at just below there, there's a $298,579. That's the difference between the proposed budget and the adjusted, which includes the warrant articles that affect the 2017 approved budget. That's a 3.37% increase. The difference between the default and the adjusted budget is $24,268, and it's 0.27% increase. So the default is pretty close to last year's adjusted budget. Then you'll see I have some estimated revenues, and these may be updated again, and an estimated tax amount. The 806 is using these proposed numbers, less the revenue, calculating out based on last year's property values. 8.06 of the tax rate would be the portion that's related to the budget. And last year's adjusted portion was 7.79, and the difference is 27 cents per thousand. So this is just the budget piece. We also have the warrant article piece that we're looking at. And we're hoping that if you have any suggestions, that you can let us know.
ASAP.
So we have some time between now and say the next time we might meet, not this
Thursday.
Tuesday, not this Thursday, but the next time we might meet
Just
to
going,
do some.
just going back, I think it's kind of hard for us to, to take the proposed and compare it to everything that was approved. So I'm just taking the budget that was passed, the budget itself that was passed, and what we're proposing in the budget. So that's the 422,000, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a 4.77%. I think over the years, it's been a little bit difficult to kind of follow where we are, just because we have put so much into the warrant articles as opposed to what we used to do about 10 years ago. So it's very hard for us to kind of follow and know exactly where we're at in this process. So that's the reason why I'm looking at the $422,000, okay? Comparing the proposed budget last year that was passed without the warrant articles and the proposed budget for this year. So that, repeat it for the Channel 2, $422,696. That is what, 60 cents on the tax rate? About?
27 cents is what.
It doesn't take 20, just 27 cents? Because
Well,
every now,
Oh,
have to
that's the that's with the adjustment, I see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right, no.
You
yeah,
have to
it's-
remember there are some
422 is-
adjustments in revenue as well.
Yeah.
So
okay.
that kind of flowed along with that. You're looking at the total expenditure piece only.
Yeah.
I would like to look at the expenditure piece and then see the difference in the revenue, because I think we follow along a little bit better in what we're doing. So right now, just put it in the back of our heads, we have increased the budget by $422,000, and we will look at the revenue piece as well, and then we'll look at the warrant articles, because it all comes together, but it's, for me, it's just easier to kind of follow along piece by piece.
This might help.
Okay, great.
Okay?
Okay.
So we
But
ready?
if the
Well,
regular budget fails, we're only looking at 1.7% on the default budget increase,
Correct.
which is a significant difference between 1.7 and 4.77. It's a 4% difference, 3% difference. So I'm very curious, that's how I look at it, between the default and the proposed, because one of those two we're gonna end up with, either way. That's a significant difference.
Now, the budget numbers, if you recommend some recommendations, could change. And they may change because we have to go to the selectmen as well.
Right. I think it's really hard, for me anyways, to figure out what recommendation without seeing the whole picture first, what the revenue is gonna be, what the warrant articles are gonna be, and what the school is gonna be.
yeah, that's right.
And it's just,
And all I can present is the
yeah,
tax.
right.
You wanna
Okay.
take those?
Thank
But
you.
Karen, before we move on,
I do have.
we should give Joe a chance to, it's always nice to hear from the department head in terms of, reflections on the past year, some sentiment on where we've been, where we're going, and obviously,
He's got some in here too, so
Well,
he
yeah,
can even
that-
make the transition for
well,
us.
that's right, so Joe, yeah, so guys, if I could have everybody's attention, we'd like to give Joe some moments to, he had several things he asked of us last year that were supported, and I'd like to give us a little bit of update on how that stuff worked out and how it kind of, sets the stage for future, so.
Okay, thanks. One of the things we asked for was a new truck last year that everybody supported. I appreciate that very much. The guys do as well. And we took delivery of it recently, and it's been being used quite a bit the last few weeks. Came in, the money, the budget was, it came in on budget, and it's very, very well, very much appreciated, and highly used already right away. This note is a stainless steel body on it, and we hope that we keep the truck so long that maybe we'll be able to prolong the life of that a little bit, even longer by going with some stainless steel features. And,
You got it in your
It's,
kitchen, Muffy.
yeah, it's work.
Your commercial kitchen.
Yeah, it's working. We appreciate that very much. We've had less breakdowns. Obviously, we have a new truck in the fleet, and then the truck that replaced, we bumped that to a spare. We didn't have a spare small truck before. When one of the small trucks that you see around town breaks, we didn't have a plan B for that. So now we have the old truck that replaced in the shop, ready to go. So when something does go down, so it was a huge help. Not just because of the new truck, but because now we have a spare. It's an old, the spare's old, but it still runs. So
And
we
Joe,
appreciate that.
when you have a spare like that, if you would, do you find some way to use it at least on a regular basis? Because when vehicles sit, you always seem to have issues that happen with the brakes, rusting up or whatever else, or other thing, or the battery, going dead. Or
It's called a spare. That's what I said I was gonna use it for last year. But I know yesterday, that was the truck that plowed the Partridge Lake bus route. It's used plenty. A side note though, because the reason why you replaced it is when I went up Man's Hill with it the other day, it went 2 miles an hour up Man's Hill with a load of sand on it. 2 miles an hour. That's most people walk faster than that. So I mean, it's at the end of its useful life, and we're keeping it. But I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what was going to happen going up that road.
At least you weren't rolling backwards.
Yeah, I was just about to roll backwards. Yeah, 2 miles an hour. So, but anyways, yeah, we are using it, Steve, regularly, and keeping all the moving parts exercised.
It's nice, right? If it can have a periodic roll. So
Yeah, well,
that-
yeah, we are keeping, I say exercise it when I see one of the spare trucks hasn't been used, that's the term in the garage. Can you please exercise that truck, exercise that bearing on that sander, could you, start the grader, do something there, that's the term we use.
Yeah.
So it's very pertinent, thanks.
And I think the garage is working out well.
The garage is working out very well. We've one thing with the garage we're doing is it's going back 2 years there, but if a backhoe breaks down, we don't send it out to Caterpillar anymore. The garage is big enough. We can put the backhoe, say, right in the shop, and act like it's not even there. Put it in the corner and call Caterpillar, and they'll say, "Well, we can't get there for a couple of days." When they finally do get there, I can monitor the technician, the mechanic, and his hourly rates, and what he's doing, and what he needs for parts, and with the parts availability in Littleton, and what Caterpillar brings, we can. It seems like when you send as a former contractor, when you send the machine back to the dealer, or you send your car back to the dealer, it kind of seems like you kind of lose track of what's going on with the repair, and you don't see it because it sits in the lot for a day or two. And so on top of all the other things you see with that garage, this is just another component that maybe you didn't notice. And it's really, we just invite the mechanic, come here and let me show you what it's doing. And then the clock starts, and the service bills are reduced, which is a nice thing. Mount Eustis Road, we voted for $150,000 to improve Mount Eustis Road, and that's it's done for all practical purposes. This is one picture of a truck dumping gravel out there as we did it. The road came out real well. I think I plowed it the last few storms. It rides nice with a plow, and it was a little bit more than we planned on. We elevated the height of the road. Mount Eustis Road, where we rebuilt, was way out by the Lisbon town line in the swamp out there. So we picked the height of the road up by 1.5 feet, get it out of the swamp. We only impacted like 3 or 4 driveways out there. You couldn't really do that on a lot of other roads, but because it's very lightly populated there, we could super elevate the road right up higher, get it out of the water table, out of the swamp, a better base of gravel. We were able to utilize gravel that we already had stored at our facility to keep the cost down to build this great road and keep it under budget or on budget. Didn't quite get as far linear footage as I wanted to because we did some extra gravel work. We didn't get all the way to Industrial Park Drive, but we got pretty much to Brian's transfer station with the road improvement, and it went well. The guys, we did that all in-house. I don't know when we last spoke. The job was done all in-house. We had Central Paving. They were the low bid for the paving, but we rebuilt this whole road, all the drainage structures, all new drainage, crushing the gravel. We had a subcontractor help us crush the gravel in our pit, all the trucking, all the spreading. We rented Clough's bulldozer. We don't have a bulldozer. We don't need one either. I'm not asking for one. We rented a dozer.
A little hard to exercise that.
Yeah, we rented a dozer, and an R grader, and we built the road. And it took a little bit of time. You see the size of the truck. We had a lot of gravel to bring out there, but it came out well, and the numbers are right. Everything went good. So thank you for that, and I'll let you know what happened with that budget, with that warrant article. And then the last thing was the employees. We got a new employee you voted for, and this is the one I wanted to talk about the most. There's been some turnover. One guy, a couple guys have left, and we got a new person through the warrant article. And most of you people been in business, I see in the room, and you know a good guy when you get one, how great it can be. And the first guy we got was Jeff Osgood, and he was working for a logging company for many years, and the logging company closed up shop right when we were looking for help, and we were able to kind of pluck him right out of the job search that he was on, and get him right into the garage, and we hired him as a temporary last fall. When the vote went through to make it a full-time position, we encouraged him to apply. He's just an unbelievably talented guy with a great attitude, and we hired him for the full-time position that we got, and he's since moved up to be an equipment operator now, and he's already a go-to guy. Only been there about a year, and mechanical equipment operator, truck driver with all the licenses, not just a Class B, as a trailer license. And like I said, a great attitude and a great asset. So that was a huge hire, and I can't thank you guys enough for that, because not only do we need the help, but especially when you can get somebody that good with that positive attitude, it's very helpful. Rudy, do you know him? You're shaking your head. I think you know Jeff.
He's my best friend.
Oh, I knew you guys knew each other, but now I know something I didn't know. All right, good to know. The other guy, since the other, some of the openings we had, we got a guy, Ren Bouchard, that's joined the forces of the team since we last all were together. He was 25 years in Nashua, and I don't know why he wants to work for Littleton now, but we hired him, and he's 25 years of experience in public works, running all the equipment that public works departments run, and a real mechanical guy and another good-natured guy.
Always smiling.
Yeah, he's always smiling, always happy. When I walk in the morning, I can hear him laughing in the break room as soon as I open the door, and that's nice. But on top of being nice, he's also, got a lot of tools in his tool chest. I mean, 25 years experience, and Littleton has him now as one of our new guys. And then some of the part-time guys we got, even the part-time guys, Cooper Paradise worked for us for the summer. I think a lot of you guys know the Paradise family, recreation guys. This Cooper, he's an 18-year-old kid. He was able, you gotta hear some of this good stuff. I know it's getting long.
No, that's fine.
18-year-old kid, we could leave him with a truck full of equipment and tools all day. And obviously we monitor him, but I mean, we didn't have to monitor him. He stayed busy all day. He loves the town. He's been in town his whole life. He played sports in the town. You sent him to the fields to work. He knew what to do. He knows what they're supposed to look like because he's been there for so long. Griffin Northrup, Stacy and Steve Northrup from Bailiwicks and Crosstown, their son, same thing. And we had this third kid from Lisbon, Mac, that a West Point engineering student that worked for us for just a little while. He had to go back to fulfill his military and his scholarly duties. But he actually, when he called, Karen was like, "Joe, you have to see this guy." And I had already talked to him on the phone, and I was saying, why does a West Point rising senior want to work for Littleton? I mean, he's not from the area, so that there was a flag as a department. There was a little bit of a flag. I brought him in and for an interview, and I said, "All right, what's her name?" And sure enough, he was in love with a girl up here. And we got a guy from a West Point rising engineering rising senior that just was another tremendous asset to the little bit of time he was here. He left a mark on everybody. Val Polson actually came to the shop. He wanted to meet this guy for himself. He was quite a worker. So we made the most with what you guys have given us. I thought the road came out good, and it's a sturdy road. The truck's working out great, and we didn't, I set it up the right way, and I'm hiring the right guys, and I appreciate your support so far. Just wanted to start off with that, but we kind of get into something else first, but that's okay.
George.
Excuse me?
Actually, I missed one. There's one other new employee. I'm sorry, Rudy, you're right. I went to the part-times. George Skidmore is the newest employee, and
Good mechanic.
when I came to town, he was Val Polson's small engine mechanic at P&S Equipment, and then I've seen him since then working at other shops around town. And he applied when we had an opening, and we were able to get a Littleton resident, been here about 20 years. That's just a great mechanic from small engines to trucks and cars. I mean, he ran P&S Equipment for Val Polson for years, and he also does equipment repairs for mechanics around town. Now he's our guy. We're trying to make him a truck driver, but boy, when there's a small engine that goes down, we don't look around the room too much. Give it right to George. Everybody, so we've built a nice team. The team was already built pretty well by George, but we tweaked it a little bit, and we have some go-to guys. Obviously, a small engine mechanic that's a truck driver. We have another guy that's a trailer truck driver, Ren, with 25 years with Nashua, so we can lean on him with old street sweeper questions, things like that. So it's really very been encouraging year. Thank you again.
Okay. And also, when you have people that have those extra talents,
Yeah.
you have a good mechanic in Tim, that when he gets overloaded in certain situations, whatever, you have other people with good mechanical skills that can step in.
To your point, they did a $12,000 engine job on a 2002 sweeper. I'm not asking for a sweeper this year either, but it's a 2002 sweeper it's been past its expected life expectancy date by quite a bit, and they were able to tear that thing apart and put a new motor in it right in the shop. We were down maybe 3 or 4 days without the sweeper and back up and running, and the motor was $10,000 probably, but did it all in house and have to send it out.
I think my husband called you, he says, you swept up to our house, but you didn't sweep the rest of the way. And he says, you know him, call him. I said, no, I'm not gonna go.
So it's been a good, the employees we hired, were very encouraging. It's
They
made
dual
it a lot
purpose
better.
that thing too.
Excuse me?
They dual purpose that thing
Yeah.
too for the recreation, the pool.
Yeah, we tweaked it a little bit, yeah.
Joe, do you wanna explain the PVC or whatever that you're putting in the,
Okay, in the photo, there's a dump truck dumping, this is a processed gravel we had to purchase, very fine 1.5-inch gravel on the top coat. But there's a matting, a fabric here. We used a geotextile fabric under the top layer of gravel to stop the high water table from causing the road to be mushy in the spring and having the vehicles push the gravel down into the muddy stuff below. It's a widely used practice using geotextiles on the roads right now. You can it saves the amount of gravel you have to buy, and it prolongs the life of the road quite a bit, and just best practice now. And so underneath that fabric is the other gravel that we crushed ourselves. To build this road cheaply, we didn't crush fine gravel that you'd see on the side of the road. We crushed our gravel into 5-inch. That was the cheapest way to do it. The company came in and crushed our big piles of rocks into 5-inch material. So we spread out this 5-inch material, 1.5 feet thick, then put this fabric over it, and then the fine gravel on top. So in the end, you have about 18 to 24 inches of solid road base from 5-inch gravel. You have the old road crushed underneath it first. We crushed the old road and left it right there. We didn't pick up the old asphalt. We recycled that road and left it right, reclaimed it, left it right in place. Added 1.5 feet of this new gravel we were able to make out of our pit, and then the fabric. Then the next layer is the processed gravel. Then on top of that's the asphalt. So it's quite a process. And like I said, came out like it's a solid road.
when you build a road, it's worth doing it right.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And
Because when you repave it, you want to be repaving on top of something that's good.
that's right.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Sure.
I think we
Sure.
want to go to the warrant articles, is that what we're doing? Yes.
Okay. Is that anything else, Joe? Is that?
That's good. Thank you.
Okay, well,
Thanks
thank
for that
you.
time. I know there's a little bit
While he's here,
wordy.
do you
Sorry.
want to,
No, it's good. We
Yeah,
appreciate
but
it.
he has to work on the warrant
Yeah.
articles too, right? You're gonna address some of your warrant articles?
We have a little bit to talk about warrant articles, yes.
There are 3 of them, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
so what we'll do is start with number 7, which is the highway department full-time truck driver. For 2018, we're asking for another truck driver at the highway department. Back when we had the big budget cuts, we'd lost 3 people from the highway department. And the more and more that we do in-house and do on our own, we have to have the people there to be able to do this. The weather can be unpredictable, the projects continue to add up. Sure, Joe can explain more and more what his department's doing. It's trying to be preventative instead of chasing after the things that crop up as a day-to-day thing.
Thanks. Yeah, the rhetoric's similar to last year, where we asked for a guy last year as well. So we got a new employee last year, and we talked about some of the new hires just now, how it's working out. But we also had 2 part-time seasonal employees last winter, and with this job market, we can't fill a position. So we're more short-staffed now than we were last year, even with the guy we got. So we gained a guy, but we can't fill the positions. It's not just me. I thought it might be.
Don't take it personal, huh?
And I thought it might just be me, but I was over to Lyman's garage yesterday, and they have the truck sitting there brand new, and they don't have anybody to run it, and they can't find anybody over there. They not even have anybody even expressing the interest. We had a little interest at least. We'll see what the winter brings, but so we're still short now. And to tell you the truth, unemployment if you're looking for seasonal work in construction, it's because you're laid off for the winter. So a lot of times that works out well. If someone gets laid off for the winter because they're a paving contractor or a concrete finisher or something like that, a trade that you can't really apply, you can't use your skills in the winter, come work for us type of thing. unemployment pays more than what we pay. We don't pay much. So you can work with me at 4 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock this morning, or you can stay home and make even more money on unemployment. And it turns out that people choosing that employment, and it's a struggle. We've reached out to Persons Concrete, to Central Paving, to Blacktop Asphalt to see if I could pluck one of their better guys. I ask for the cream of the crop all the time and see what we get. See if when they finally finish off their layoffs for the year, they're mostly laid off now. They're still working in their shops. We've invited their best to come see Karen in HR and apply, and we're hoping to find somebody good, especially Persons Concrete. Some of the drivers are Littleton guys, and we're looking to work. So try our best. We posted it, but we're short now. We didn't have enough guys this morning.
So you have 2 part-time positions that are not full right now?
That's right. That are funded. We can't
This is to get a
fill.
full-time position because you think you would do better
Yeah.
with a full, so is that swapping the money for the 2 part-time positions?
No,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So it'll be no. We're just looking for a full-time person because, and then if I what I was going to do, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, that's okay, I'm just curious, you've got 2 unfilled part-time
Yeah.
positions that are already in the budget, correct?
Yes.
They were in the budget
Yeah.
that was approved.
Yeah.
And how much money is that
It's about $20,000
total?
'Cause
Not each, but total.
Was
No.
that for seasonal? Was-
Seasonal.
that was
Winter
seasonal.
winter
10,000
season.
each. We
Okay.
have 1 winter and 2 summers in the budget.
Okay.
We used 2 seasonals last year. We were down some staff, and we used 2 seasonals full-time last year. One was a return person, somebody that had been there year after year,
Okay.
and he's not coming back this year. And the other one, we ended up hiring as a full-time person once the Warren article got through. That was Jeff Osgood. So right now, we have 8 people
That's correct.
full-time. And we have one that I don't even think he's started yet, or he
Yeah.
might have started
Yeah. He started yesterday.
yesterday.
See how it
Yeah.
works out. He has a full-time job.
He's
coming in to help
seasonal.
us out, yeah.
And at this point, he does not have a CDL, but he can drive a smaller truck. So we really need to get some experienced help. And with the lack of people applying, having a full-time position with benefits might attract somebody. If you have a part-time position paying $14 an hour and somebody can stay home and not be up till 4 o'clock in the morning plowing roads, they're gonna stay home. If they can make, and I don't know what unemployment pays now, but I know a couple years ago, when my husband was unemployed, because the shop closed, he got $480 a week. That's a nice little paycheck to stay home. Am I gonna go out and work at $14 an hour with no benefits?
Exactly.
So I think what you're trying to say is, will this replace some of those part-time
Part-time,
seasonal?
So, well, I feel that I still feel that we need that much help, in addition to,
You talk about a cycle.
So that's
so-
in addition to, if you were to fill the part-timers, you still need this.
it's still like the guys, we're still down, they had, even when they had 10 guys, they still had a seasonal position. So, the other component to the new position that I'm asking for is that, the guys that are left there right now, during the plow season, they're picking up the slack for the other guys that aren't there. So, one guy's plow route gets 3 or 4 more miles added to it. This guy gets 6 more miles out. This guy gets. So the guys that are there are being used, worked harder, more hours, and their trucks are being worked a lot harder. And we're not, and that goes to the next question about replacing trucks. So we had a truck breakdown yesterday on Foster Hill Road, the same spot it broke down last year, and I know why. He's fully loaded with sand, trying to get out there on the bus route, the same time of day during the bus route. Another guy shortens the cycle time of the plow route. It's almost unsafe where we have 6 hours, 6 hour cycle times. Time you see it on your route, Fire Hill, right? I think it's 3.5 hours to 4 hours for that route. So when you see a truck go by, you won't see him again for 3.5 or 4 more hours. On Skinny Ridge Road, Partridge Lake Road, Fox Hill Road, or up on Mans Hill, it's up to 6 hours. Those two routes are 6 hour cycle times. So it's really becoming problematic. We've had people, actually it was embarrassing, during the election in March, that big snowstorm we had in the election, people coming up to me right at the town building saying, Joe, I can't get home right now. I said, I know you can't, because the driver that plows for you is in the garage, because his truck's broke down, and he's already 6 hours behind. So we're looking to decrease some of the cycle times on the plow routes by adding this guy.
Jim, what's a state cycle?
Depends on how much snow accumulation you get.
Yeah.
I was gonna suggest, there's a winter snow and ice policy online that shows when the state's required to plow, you know, how much snow is allowed to be on the road. You know, there's a target amount and then there's a maximum amount. Surprisingly, some of the roads out here might be 5 inches. Never really gets that.
Yeah.
Unless you're in a notch, where you get some drifts. So, you know, I guess it's a service level thing. If the town wants to have bare roads all the time, then you're gonna need the men and the equipment to do it. So I guess it's really a matter of, you know, where those hot spots are and how much snow you want on
You got the snow,
the road.
you got the school bus routes. too.
Sure.
Yeah, you have
I
that.
mean, hospitals, schools,
Yeah.
the states pretty much take care of the hospital roads, so.
Have
So,
we added town roads in the last few years? I mean, it seems like we've increased labor in the town department.
You
But
increase.
the road distances hasn't changed, and now you're not doing the schools, you're not doing a town parking lot down there because they're contracting that out at significant expense. So it seems like actually the route should be shrinking instead of growing unless we're adding new roads that we've never plowed before.
Ralph, back in 2010, 11, we had a big cut with 750,000. At that time, we had 10 full-time people in the highway department, plus the highway superintendent. So they lost 3 people. They
Okay.
didn't lose any roads. They had to increase what they were doing to cover all of those plow routes. And they had overtime increase because they had to keep up with those roads.
that's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
So he hasn't got back, that department has not got back to their capacity that was back in the time that budget cut was. So this person, they're looking at adding, still they're down 1 from where they were back at that point when the budget cuts
Which
were.
was the purpose of cutting the budget back then, was to replace the budget, not wait 3-4 years and build it all back up again.
Trying to get the
I mean,
department,
we may have a significant budget cut again
we could,
very
yes,
soon.
yes.
So, especially with the difference between the proposed and the default, we might see that this year.
Mhm.
So will
So-
this, you know, going along with that, will this decrease the overtime expense if this position was added? I don't know how that works.
Yeah, it depends on it's a kind of weather dependent question, but I mean, if we get 6, excuse me?
Depends on the weather.
If we get 6 inches of snow overnight and then we wake up in the morning and it's down and the guys can plow it, there's hardly any overtime. When you have this long storm like yesterday, 1 inch, you know, and they keep chasing the flurries around the schools and chasing the bus, it's a long storm, but answering your question, it's gotta decrease the overtime.
I was gonna say,
definitely.
if you were just
It has
saying
to.
about the
Yeah.
6 inches.
Yeah, yeah.
And if they can get out and you
Yeah.
have more people
Yeah.
going out to
Yeah.
do it, so obviously
Yeah.
it would
So-
decrease the
So-
overtime.
Some of this, Ralph, I believe it's like, I'm posing the question, also, like, are you happy with 6 hour cycle times? And that would be, you know, and then if there's a breakdown, it goes even longer. If everybody's happy with that, I can do the job, we're doing the job. The guys are great at plowing snow, we like to plow snow, and we can do it. But I just look at some of these cycle times and looking at what people are saying to me, you know, and say, you know, why is it taking so long to do this road? Why am I not seeing, you know, better service here? So I'm saying, well, what can I do better? We can't put more sand on the truck, because that doesn't work. The trucks are getting, the trucks can't be abused. The speed limits have to be obeyed. Working speeds have to be monitored so that guys are traveling at the right speed, not trying to fly through their routes and break all the equipment. So the only thing you really can do is, put another guy on the route. That's all we can do. So this new person that we got yesterday, that he works full time. We're gonna try him a few hours a day. I'm gonna put him in the industrial park for a couple hours, say if it snows Thursday morning or Friday morning, and a couple hours on a bus route to try to take the pressure off those two drivers and try to increase the level of service. We can do the job. It's just what your threshold is, really, what Jim was saying about the state,
Actually, this
Summer.
person
Yeah,
is
we'll talk about summer.
part-time
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
highway
Yeah.
department. He works somewhere else full-time.
Yeah. And
One other note I think I might add would be that if this, it goes through, we might wanna try seeing if that individual could do some of the other town responsibilities, other lots. Cause I know we talked about subcontracting that out.
So, yeah, we
So
do
if you have
some
another
law.
plow,
Yeah.
a driver,
Save
I see.
on contract fees, you mean?
Yeah.
we talked about it, I think, at the first meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for example, like
Yeah.
our sewer operation treatment facility company, that inside of their contract is plowing. There's plowing some municipal lots in there, and that contract is set for the next. I think we have another 3 years on it, and so, but yeah, after the third year, you could look at pulling some of that out to reduce costs. And to the school point, the school has actually eliminated the position that they provided to actually take care of the school lots. And we also had, the only reason Public Works even had anything to do with it at the time was we had somebody go out without notice on a medical issue. And it was the person who worked the Parks and Rec, and they couldn't do it. So Public Works ended up having to step in. I think Joe himself was actually doing the plowing of the schools last year. But the school didn't bring back the position that was needed actually to do that, to assist the town. And we're down too with what we have just from turnover and training and new staff. So I mean, just to address the school thing again, it's more than just it's not really hasn't been a Public Works responsibility. It's some shared.
The other half of that, Jimmy, was getting to, I don't think the school has successfully addressed their snowplow needs.
Right, I mean, the idea was to get reimbursed from them anyway, right?
Yeah, right. And I think what we realized in the recent process is that the town has been basically really subsidizing the school's expenses, because we look at the quotes that they were getting for service, and I think they're really like a 2-inch or a 3-inch minimum. I mean, they're looking at 60 to 80 grand where we were getting 20. But Steve and I are in discussions. We're talking about developing a new MOU that really works for both the school and the town for the future. So it's just kind of a hard year for them.
So is it fair to say that this warrant article item that you're talking about, this 40,000 plus, will allow you to do a better turnaround
Yes.
time for plowing?
Yep.
And do more, like in the summertime, some of
Yeah.
these things that you seem to be able to do instead
Yeah.
of bringing in
Yeah.
XYZ company?
Yeah.
So
That's
in
right.
theory, it could save us a little money if you're not doing overtime.
If you're reducing it,
If you're reducing overtime and you're not using outside people to do, I don't know, put a culvert in or
That's
whatever,
right.
you know
Yeah.
how to do
That's
that.
right.
Summer.
Is that your thought? I mean, am I?
Exactly, just to that Mount U system. I mean, I don't know what we never thought of having a contractor do it, but if we had a contractor rebuild that road, it would have exceeded the $150,000 that we allotted, that was allotted and voted on. So yes, in the summertime, the guys are on call from the wintertime, the guys are on call from November till April. So in the summertime, we have a hard time finding help as well, because they all have to take their vacation times. We want them to take their vacation time, the time that they've earned off. So it's pretty quiet in there in the summertime a lot of the time. So we're short staffed in the summer as well because of the vacations, on top of the fact that we're down a few guys. So it's helpful. Sometimes I like it. It's pretty quiet, but.
Well, the other question here, there are 4 warrant articles that kind of look like they're in Joe's area, can we talk about those now, Steve, or is this a bad time?
No, I think that's what we wanted.
Yeah, because I'm just looking at the clock.
We did that one for a while.
Okay. So that's the truck driver position.
$75,000 is jumping out at me.
What is it?
The $175,000.
Yes.
Line 8, is that where we're headed
Yeah,
today, Karen?
That's the one that's kind of making me think that.
This is a vehicle equipment repair and replacement fund.
Uh-huh.
We originally had a couple vehicles we were gonna put on to the list of warrant articles. But the thought was that we would like to have a fund where the selectmen are authorized to expend from and try to replenish it every year and use it to continually, if we get a chance to get a good buy on a vehicle, even if it's a second-hand vehicle, to be able to buy them and try to save a little bit of money, but also be able to have some flexibility. One item that was looked at was getting a new heavy-duty truck, a 10-wheeler, and we were gonna put that warrant article in here, and that was $170,000 by itself. Another item was another
Who is it, for a
10-wheeler.
10-wheeler.
10-wheeler with a dump body or something?
Yeah, plow, sander, dump body.
Yeah, the fully equipped, yeah,
Yeah.
the truck itself would be $120,000,
Yeah, yeah.
roughly.
Then we looked at another
Maybe
heavy
less, yeah.
duty truck, dump truck, a regular replacement of one of our regular trucks. We looked at, was the backhoe, was replacing the backhoe. And looking at the affordability of what people could afford, we kind of wanted to adjust some of those warrant articles, but also allow some flexibility so that if something came up, we would be able to purchase it and try to stabilize some of the tax rate at some point.
So, yeah, and really, it's really would require, this is better planning and better management, rather than just saying, hey, voters, we expect you to know enough about these trucks and the use and the condition. Do you think we should have a truck that's broken down and costing us a brand new, or engine replacement, a transmission? And then to say, well, they vote no. But if we have, our plan is, we would have a continual equipment replacement plan that shows that we are balancing the cost of maintenance and replacement and stabilizing the tax rate by, just putting the same amount away every year. We have an equipment plan that the select board and budget committee and everybody can review and see, but we're not asking a taxpayer specifically, hey, do you think this truck is in poor enough condition that you think we should replace it?
Here's the other question then.
Yeah.
Okay, this last year on the warrant, refresh me, what did the highway department ask for and get? In this realm, not employee, but do you know the amount?
It was 100, we took a lease loan agreement, we bought a new truck, it was a $100,000 truck.
Mhm.
And you spread that over 3 years.
So it was 40,000, right? 40.
It was
that the-
about 35,000, I think, a year is what we, 40,000.
40,000, yeah, 40,000, I was just
Okay.
trying. This handout that Karen famously prepared
Gave
for us.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so you can go back and you can see what
And it
our
was 40?
budget. 40,000.
And
yeah.
that was the only piece of equipment for the highway department?
Highway, no, that was the highway employee. Okay, so we had, I don't know, let's see.
It would have been a truck.
Oh, a truck was 30,000.
Okay.
Okay, and then we had the employee for 40,000.
40,000.
And road improvements we had for 150,000.
And the
That
truck
on
was
last.
a six-wheeler.
The smallest six-wheel, yeah.
And we
very
took
small.
a loan
550.
lease for that.
Yeah.
For
So
the
the
100,000, that's why it was 30.
Mhm.
So that's what you don't wanna do, you wanna get $175,000 in the kitty, so to speak, that you can judiciously use.
And that would be an annual, would that be annual?
We would determine the annual amount based on our replacement plan. So with this actually what we were looking at, we didn't just come up with 175, we were looking at what would it take to get the equipment that we need for the pending year. And Joe can talk a little more about the specifics of that, like the backhoe,
Yeah, just some of this stuff, you know, we went over last year. Everything's past its targeted replacement date, so if you, the small truck that we just bought is $100,000, the next size truck up is $160,000. And we found that, for $175,000, $10,000 more, you can get twice the capacity of that. Those bigger trucks we see, like say on Fire Hill Road, I'm looking at you because I know where you live, and George, where you are, that biggest truck, the big truck you see there is $160,000, $160,000. It holds 7 yards.
And that's a six-wheeler.
Yeah, a truck that'll hold 14 yards is only 10,000 more. When I was in business, I never ran those trucks that size because they were a waste of money. And for whatever reason, we have a fleet of trucks that hold 7 yards on the out-of-town routes. Everything I was going to buy is going to cost $10,000 more. It's going to cost, and it's going to haul 14 yards, not 7. That's just one angle to this. We're going backwards. We're looking at studying the sewer and having a sewer plan, you know, so we don't come up with these big repairs all at once all the time. Same thing with this a budgeted amount that comes in every year, and we decide how to replace the 1980s grader or the 2002 sweeper or the backhoe. Everything's coming due. There's another truck that we use now that is walking speed on Mans Hill too. Not just the one I was in the other night. I mean, so instead of going the same rhetoric, you know, asking for a truck every year or this, you know.
Is that low gear or high gear?
Low gear.
Yeah, it's
But the point is, we would be going to the community and saying a warrant article for $175,000 as opposed to last year's 30, correct?
Right.
no. Well, it read at 100 last year, right?
It read as 100,
Yeah.
but it also said that we had to raise the 30,000 for the first year's
because it was the
payment.
lease.
Yeah.
So you were really only raising $30,000. And
We're
this,
raising the other payment this year
I understand.
under the debt schedule.
I understand that. So now the 175, I'm not arguing this, I just wanna make sure, I
You
understand,
understand
if
it,
somebody asks me,
Well, also,
Gotcha.
that much money, how tough's it gonna get through a warrant article?
Well, you not only, can I just say, 175,000, and then we're also getting the other 30,000 already in the budget. So it's really
That's in the
205.
budget, though, the 30,000's in the operating budget,
Right.
right?
Yep.
And the 175, you can't say 175, but we're only gonna spend 52 of it this year. I mean, you really want the 175,000
Right.
sitting in the,
This represents basically the purchase lease payments for the 3 pieces of equipment that are done. So, but I think, you know, just like
That
with
are
anything,
done meaning-
meaning they need to be replaced.
I mean, done,
Yeah,
meaning contemplated.
Yeah, they need to be cycled out. They're costing us a lot of money.
And those 3 pieces are,
One
A
of them,
six-wheeler?
6-wheeler, but it'll be replaced with a 10.
okay,
One is the backhoe,
That's right.
and the other is the
10-wheeler.
10-wheeler. Yeah.
all right, wait, back up here. No, how many, no, you double dipping on the 10-wheeler.
No, we need another 550 size truck too.
Okay, so
There's
we're
another
we're talking about a 6-wheeler that's gonna become a new 10-wheeler.
That's right.
You know,
We're talking about a backhoe?
a backhoe
Yeah.
and a 550. Is it
Backhoe, old backhoe becoming new backhoe,
Yeah.
and we're talking about
Another small truck.
an old 550 going to new,
Getting rid of one of the 2008s, yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
On that line item, this is a vehicle replacement fund, is what you're talking about.
We're trying to build something like that, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you have a vehicle equipment repair line item in the budget that's already there for $62,000 for this year. Now you're asking to increase that vehicle equipment repair by half of what you're asking for. I don't think you should have vehicle equipment repair in there when you've got a line item in the budget.
Ralph, excellent point, and Andrew and Karen brought that to my attention today. Can we knock this down if we're gonna do this? And,
I'm not saying knock it down, I'm saying
No,
it's gotta be a replacement
there's-
fund.
there's a redundancy
And
there,
we've
yeah,
gotta
yeah.
be able to sell to people
Yeah.
that what needs to be
Yeah.
replaced. Not use it as repairs, and then all of a sudden we can't replace vehicles because we use it all for repairs.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, we got a line
yeah,
item.
There's-
the idea was we have an aging fleet, and
Right.
You know, we've been putting off the purchases because we feel like it was too much this year, too much this year, too much this year. So in the equipment, the unexpected, really the idea was the chance of an unexpected major repair could exceed what we have in our line item. And when you create a fund like this, it's limited to specifically what you put in it. So if we said equipment replacement fund, which ideally I think that's what, yeah, I think you're right, it would be
I
ideally.
think you're gonna have tough
Yeah.
time selling it that way.
Yeah, it
I
was
think
to
you'd sell it better
free
as
it
a
up.
replacement fund. I mean,
Yeah.
we've done the same thing with the fire department and the police department, and as a replacement fund,
Mhm.
it has a better chance of selling than an equipment repair fund when you already have a line item.
Yeah, that's probably a good point. And I
You
mean,
call it a
no,
life
it's
cycle
good.
Semantics.
yeah,
Excuse
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the semantics.
But-
I mean, on that point
real-
too, we
they're
could
real
always
dollars, though.
overexpend
Yeah.
if we
Yeah.
needed to over the.
But in Littleton, just historically, I mean, there has been some pushback, Karen, in past
I agree.
years
I agree.
on this. So boy, and I think the reason for the pushback was not enough people got to a comfort level in terms of how it was going to work. And obviously Littleton has a history and an expectation of being able to vote for things. And I think a lot of people felt that it was kind of an indirect vote. Yeah, we're voting the money, but then we'd never get the vote on the actual piece of equipment. And so, I mean, and I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but I'm saying is that based on, but yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
You need to develop a comfort level. People need to understand how this is really going to work. They don't, I don't believe that people are going to want to vote for it, especially if they feel it's going to just allow money to be spent without community approval.
Well, it's
That
not
has
only-
always been there, and maybe
Yeah,
we
yeah,
need to be
yeah.
in that transition
Yeah.
stage,
It-
but I'm just
yeah.
saying that,
There's probably, I think there, with that, in developing that level of trust, I think there's an education process and a public process that needs to follow with it. And part of that will be public presentation of the equipment fund, the equipment replacement plan. And so, for example, the select board would annually review the equipment replacement plan and then take a position on it. You know, okay, we're in agreement with the town staff that it's time for these vehicles to be put up. And
this is when I asked Milton
yeah.
Schuyler for their opinion, but
right. But ultimately, I see. Yeah, you need to have that trust and that
You have to have
understanding
the
of what it's
trust,
going
and I
for.
think
Yeah.
a hearing, people like to be able to go
Oh, yeah.
and kick the tires on.
Yeah.
But I know
everything
that
that's
there
being
was
proposed,
the
so-
2 or 3
Yes.
times previously that this had been proposed.
I just think it's a large amount of money for people to be kind of saying, yeah, it's pie in the sky.
Yeah.
I'm not dumping on you, don't get me wrong.
No, I agree with
I
you,
will
it's a big,
talk
it's a
about
big
you at the
number.
coal patch on Fire Hill one day.
It's a big number.
I just think it's hard to say when you've got $62,000 in repairs, and now this is this sort of nebulous fund that, yes, if they sat down and talked to you and they talked about this 10-wheeler and 18-wheeler and whatever they all are, and God knows we know that these vehicles cost that much, our cars cost more than our houses did. But it's a big amount of money to say, $175,000, and we're gonna let the selectmen and Joe and Andrew and Karen figure out how it's spent.
Not me.
I'm out of here, huh?
Yeah.
But yes, but Muffy is presenting that
Yeah,
well.
no,
I mean,
no,
that's
I-
how.
I-
And that's just, I mean, you know,
I agree with
do we
you.
need it or not? It'd be great if we could just say sure. I mean, we all know that we'd love to have new trucks and more plows and everything that we want.
We're either going to ask for it in the fund or we're going to ask for it in specific line items. And I think that and the hope would be that by the time we get to the deliberative session, that we've done our work enough in public
Well,
that
maybe.
you know which pieces of equipment are coming up and where that money's actually going.
Can that be put into the warrant article?
What's that?
Can that be put into the warrant article, or you're really stuck then if you?
As far as like the pieces that are
What
going for.
$175,000 is going for? It's going for a 10-wheeler, and it's going for a backhoe, and it's.
I mean, you can. Ultimately, this would be shifting us to a better stabilization
I
program.
understand that, but it's gonna be a harder thing to sell.
I think
Andrew.
Yeah.
it really depends too, we already just experienced 442,000 increase in the proposed operating budget.
Yeah.
And now we have to go through some of these other warrant articles, and we still have to really figure out the
The final tax
final
impact.
tax impact.
Sure, yeah.
So, I mean,
yeah.
Well, we certainly
Yeah.
understand what he's talking about.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Right, yep.
It's a tough stuff.
Okay.
So-
Guys, we do have a curfew tonight at 6, on the meeting. But Joe, I guess, can we address the generator and the road improvement?
Generator what?
Generator and road improvement.
We have the generator on here, for 25,000. We have 20,000 that's expected to come from a grant. So the taxpayers would be paying 5,000, and this would be a generator for the highway department.
Okay. And is this diesel?
I can't answer that.
Propane?
Propane, okay. And Joe, you have propane?
Joe has propane.
Propane.
For
Similar,
generator?
similar unit?
I'm not sure what unit he has,
Okay.
but it's propane fired, yes, yeah.
20,
Generac.
There's Generac, that's, I think ours is Generac too, that we priced out, yeah.
okay.
Three-phase,
I think this FEMA, I'm sorry, this grant application, I've been told is gonna be viewed favorably, I'm supposed to hear, pretty soon. I don't know if you heard anything today, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, but sorry, but that's a,
a very small, item if we get the.
That's an
grant money.
easy sell when you get a $20,000.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
great.
Just like
Yeah.
a fast truck down
Yeah.
here.
We'll approve that one right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Prove that.
That's a lot easier to
but,
sell than
but this will
150,000.
power the whole building,
yes,
fully power it?
yes,
Every function, it's not
That's
like
right.
just a
That's
partial.
No.
And is part of this cost creating the wiring interface, or did we do that when we built the building? Jimmy?
Oh, hi, how you doing?
You got it?
I was talking to Paul. He's got power,
He's good.
2 out of 3 buildings. have
Yeah.
generators.
the wiring isn't, is pretty friendly, for this, I guess the best way to say it, it's not,
I don't think it was included in the.
We didn't plan it,
no, no.
so it's not plug and play per se,
No,
but.
no, but it's not too bad.
I don't think so.
We tried to go to FEMA first. I was a little surprised that we don't have, when we lose power, we lose power. We went to FEMA first. FEMA didn't want it, and then Andrew found a different grant source.
USDA,
They were amazed that we didn't have it, and we've been working on it pretty quickly right now with Chief Joe, to see if we can get it.
And all the ones we have, these automatically kick in when.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Public Works really is a part of a public safety,
Yeah, right,
yeah,
it is.
matrix, so.
Yeah.
Extension cords.
So for the
10
road,
sources.
on the road
Not even in your
improvements,
budget.
That's right.
Okay,
Steve?
yes, Bobby.
5,000's a good deal. $150,000 for the roads, the next thing, I'm looking at the clock.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that what it was last year
Yes.
as well?
Yeah.
Yes.
Although having said that, shouldn't the real figure be 350,000?
Should be 500 left.
Oh, Jesus.
One
Thank you,
reason
Andrew.
why we wanted to set up the road improvement fund was to put in an amount so that if roads needed an improvement or a short fix, they could, because we knew 150 wouldn't cover a whole large amount of road. We do have, just to note, up on line 3,
Yeah,
we have Foster Hill Road repair. And this is kind of keyed into
Oh, yeah.
line 25. We had a petition come in.
line
And-
25.
Yes,
In the budget?
on the warrant article list.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
With no figure?
We have line 25 is Foster Hill Road repairs. It's a petition. There was no figure in it. So we have a ballpark figure at this point. We're gonna get more numbers of 500,000. And the plan is to, on a bond, to do this because it might be a 2-year project. So we're gonna put in on the warrant article that the bond and the warrant article itself is non-lapsing till the end of 2019. Because we may not, with all of the things happening, we may not get to this project. And then estimating the payments, it's 100,000 plus per year when we start making payments on
Do
this.
you want to speak to that?
To,
Foster Hill.
Foster Hill Road, yeah, we identified that, my first week with George McNamara as a road that really needs, out of town, you know, I wanted to do 2 roads in town and 1 road out of town. That's what I wanted to do every year when I took the job. And I identified that quickly as a good out of town road to do. It's in rough shape, it's hard to plow. So, basically, road studies aside, we're talking about hiring engineers to help us with road studies. Our road study at Public Works is this road is so hard, my truck breaks when I try to plow it. That's the road we need to fix right now, and that's where we're at. And that road's so rough it breaks the truck. So to break it out a little bit, we dug test holes in a few different spots right in the middle of the road. You couldn't even know we did it. It just didn't hurt the road. Dug some holes in the road. There's no gravel, but at least there isn't all like a cow field that was paved over, like all topsoil or loam. There is.
Well, at least we could reclaim the topsoil.
Yeah, there's no topsoil. It's just bony, stony material. So you need to add something over that, and then repave to get it right. And
Not dig it down first. Or you don't think you'd have to do that?
well, that would be better. But I think that because there's no organics there from the test pits, maybe Jim can speak to this. The test pit showed no organics there, just a good layer of 18 inches of rocky soil, rocky gravel. So add a little bit over that, and then redo the road with some drainage improvements. It's over 2 miles long, and just the materials alone, if you were going to do the whole thing, just yourself in house would be like $400,000. So to get it priced out to a contractor, we're not sure yet, but it'd be $500,000 or north of that, like you suggested.
Okay, so this won't be an in-house project.
No, it would be too much for us. I'd like to do it, but we wouldn't be able to do anything else.
that'd
we
be
could do it though.
tie you
It'd be
up.
nice to do.
So that, you're gonna be adding that $500,000 to this warrant list?
It's already on.
It's
Number
on here.
number 3, Muffy.
It's number 3.
Well, wait a minute.
But that's showing offsetting funds.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Yeah, because it's a loan against it, so the first year, there would not be any
Yeah.
Yeah,
tax
that's what I mean.
impact.
One
About that,
article
say,
says
here's
there's
what we're doing in 2018.
$100,000 tax impact this year.
The warrant article will show impact for 2019, because the payment wouldn't start until 2019.
Yeah, and Joe can address just the timing and like the road plan for for example, Steve had mentioned 350,000, like that should be 350, and we're only asking for 150 this year, and Joe's gonna kind of give you the layout of why that is.
So for right now, without that Foster Hill in there,
I know.
with the sub 5 paving is full width on Cross Street, Chiswick Street, and Pine Street, and part of Union Street. Just the math on the paving alone is $58,000. We've already bought that. We have that coming this summer. $58,000 in paving on sub 5 and in full pavement. Then there's a trench patch portion of that job that's $86,000. So you got 90 and 50, 140,000 in paving already slated to happen this summer in the sub 5 area.
But we got, that's a $2 million bond that we're paying for.
That's what I'm saying. The money's already there for
Yeah,
this.
So that's part of that $2
Yeah,
million.
Andrew's
There's
asked me to
nothing
break this
additional.
out. Yeah,
So that doesn't include this 150,000.
that's right.
That's not in here.
That's right.
Okay, so that's separate from this.
That's correct.
Okay.
Was I not clear about that? I'm sorry.
I
lot of
thought
numbers.
you were gonna tell us
It's
what this 150 is
complicated.
gonna
We're
cost.
basically,
So-
he's giving you a list of
Complicated.
what projects are happening next year and how they're gonna be funded, so that, for example, a lot of the paving that we're doing has already been paid for by the taxpayers. So
Yeah.
we're not coming and asking for,
It's already
A
been
large
paid
loan.
for. you're
right,
saying.
Yeah,
yeah, you've already approved it in the bond, or like the River District bond, or the sub 5
Yeah.
bond. And,
Okay,
yeah.
so basically you're asking 150,000, then you're going out for a bond for 500,000 for one 2-mile long road that very few people travel on except the residents. That's gonna be another tough sell to the taxpayers, to pay $500,000 for a road that they probably don't even know where it's located at. So how are we
I
gonna,
know it.
I think you're gonna have a tough time convincing taxpayers to pay for a lot of this
But
stuff.
that's why it's gonna
Why,
ask for
why isn't
back.
that,
So, yeah,
why shouldn't that be part of the budget?
This is 75 grand. 150.
This
You're
was,
talking
Like
$500,000 for road.
That's
That
75, that's in the
500,000 should be in
150,
the
75
budget,
for
it
this.
shouldn't have to go to the
Trying to bring
taxpayer to
that
say,
in
we
now.
wanna we build this road.
That's in the.
Yeah, what happens if it gets refused?
No, you got a good point.
You got a good point.
Yes,
Yeah. They're trying to do it a different way, just because we want to be able to put it in the budget, but we don't. We never do put it in the budget. We,
Folks,
yeah.
I'm sorry, that was a great
Yeah.
discussion, and I apologize, we can't cut you off, but we do need to vacate, so, anyway, well, obviously, you've got the list, so I would encourage you to take home the list of the bond articles,
And
and,
compare it to last year.
right.
And we have a
We have
meeting
a meeting
Thursday.
Thursday here at 4 o'clock. We're gonna be dealing with, several outside agencies' petition warrant articles.
And
Okay.
should I,
And
yes.
Paul and Joe were here for nothing, huh?
No.
Moral support.
I
Brian.
will have a question for the chief.
So, Karen, Andrew, as far as when we would next have a town budget meeting?
Well, Thursday we have LIDC
Yeah,
And other
and other.
We will also have Brad Bailey will be here.
That's right.
Okay, so
He's gonna talk about.
he's gonna talk about two components, yeah, the educational aid
Right.
and also.
thank you.
But can we continue any of this if we have time? Or
What's
no?
January 11th? We're down for a meeting on January 11th. So that's our
Nancy, keep
next,
talking about the warrant articles.
after Thursday, then we got January 11th.
Yeah.
That's almost a month away.
Yeah, the school will probably be the.
And then the school one, yeah.
Would we want a meeting before that? Okay, and another thing, folks, too, just FYI, I've not heard from the school at all.
We'll talk on the phone.
Yeah, but I will be talking to the school about, scheduling that third meeting. I'm asked them where they are in their numbers so we can try to, pull that all together, so.
Okay, and if you
Just-
send us this, you're sending us email on these meetings coming up,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because I haven't got one yet on the 3rd, about Thursday night. Was there an email went out?
It went out.
I didn't
sent
get
it
an
out.
email.
Last Thursday night there was a meeting?
No, this Thursday.
I didn't get an email.
I'll send it out to you
Okay,
again.
all right,
So
folks, we
around-
gotta go. Thank you very much.
Write it down again.
Gesundheit.